What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. In regard to the Division 2's Project Resolve, I've had some time to actually think through it in a greater extent. So the news came out December the 12th. Today is the 23rd. It's not because I wanted to be late to this. I just kind of, for the most part, have been watching from the sidelines and I'm considering, things differently now. So where we were with the division, I guess the question is, did we, necessarily need all this content at the detriment of them being delayed eventually and then probably delaying the Division 3? And this is a question that, I think Ubisoft needs to go ahead and look very closely into. Now, what are the facts? What are the prevailing circumstances surrounding all of this? Ubisoft took Massive and gave them two external IPs. When I say external IPs, I'm talking about the Star Wars game and the Avatar game. In 2017, we got word that the Avatar game was in production. This was when the Division 1 was still in its cycle, but what we didn't know at that time was the Division 2 was also being produced. Now, when the Division 2 hit its, in my opinion, full life cycle after Warlords of New York, we thought, and I thought the sensible way for them to go, based on the technological leap of the new generation consoles and just the fact that, Ubisoft likes to make sequels, I presumed that they were going to be making a Division 3 game. A lot of people presumed that. But then we saw announcements saying that they wanted to close down the Division 2 support. But then eventually we heard that they were no longer interested in doing that. And then we heard that they were not interested in making a Division 3 game. Then we heard that they were making a Division 3 game. Then we heard that Project Resolve was coming. And then we heard that the DLC that's coming in year 5 is going to be coming in 2025 at the helm of Grand Theft Auto 6. All of this prevailing data shows me that it might be sensible for Ubisoft to use Massive to double down on their internal IPs where the audience is, the purchasing base is, and their own IPs exist in their hands and can be profitable. Because if we're looking at the sales of the Avatar game, I don't necessarily think that that game is going to have the hottest of sales. I wanted to jump in on the game and play after, I got on Christmas break, but then I saw that right after the game came out, the game started to drop in price. So this was one thing that kind of helped me, basically reevaluate if I wanted to spend full asking price on that game, if, I might be able to get it at, a deep sale. It's not like I'm a huge Avatar fan. I am a huge fan of what Massive is able to produce, but it doesn't seem like that project was one that should have probably been greenlit. But you can't see everything. At the time they were making their Division 1 game was a beautiful game. They were able to pitch to say if they could get a game that, already had an IP bound to it. But I would not necessarily have recommended that, especially seeing how during annual reports, Ubisoft usually did, brag how much it had way more in-house IPs than its competitors like Take-Two Interactive. Even in some cases, EA, they use a lot of other external IPs, but Ubisoft has a lot of internal stuff. They have the Tom Clancy family, which is a host of multiple games that could be made. They have the Far Cry family, which, yes, as much as people may say the Far Cry games are, kind of, in a sense, methodical in their approach of doing the same thing, carrying out the same process, it's still a franchise. You have the Assassin's Creed franchise, which they've continued to make games under. But the obvious thing here is that their Tom Clancy games are just few and far between. They have a lot of possibility to be able to get into the shooter market and do a very good job. But I think they also probably learned a heavy lesson with their last Ghost Recon game, which did not necessarily resonate with the community when they tried to move it to the Division-esque style, gaming with gear and leveling and all that stuff. It just did not work out for them. So I think these, decisions, even though many of them were probably well-intentioned and some of them just seemed like they wanted to reach into pockets, seems like they've abandoned the one thing that, or one of the things that could have really, really helped to put them in a very strategically, I would say competitive position again, in this market right now. Because even with this year being so, I would say occupied with very good games, if a division game had come out in March, it would have done well. There's no doubt about that. It would have done well. It may not have done like extremely well. And I'm not saying it would have done okay. No, I'm putting it far above okay. And the reason I said this here was because the Division 2 came out in 2019. If they had taken the same approach they used with the Division 1, which was they basically immediately after launch, they pulled aside a team of, some of their people to start working on 2. If they're taking that approach to start working on 3 rather than take some of their, more knowledgeable, more I would say heavy hitters to go to these other projects, they would have had a game that I think would have been able to make 2023 a significant presence for them by more than just their Assassin's Creed game. So this is my analysis. And if anything, at least 2024 would have created room for them to be able to come out with a big, massive, already known, already recognized live service franchise when almost no one in 2024 is going to be doing anything that big. So there was already the market, and I think that strategic change and delay may have cost them a lot of opportunity. So by the time we're seeing a Division 3 project, who knows what the market is going to look like? It may be a conducive market or it may not be a conducive market. And I think Ubisoft needs to move its strategy to leveraging Steam. Their strategy for the Division 2, it worked because the majority of their sales were on PC. So for Uplay, that worked out. But if Steam can give you an additional sales and can bring people into your ecosystem, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because sure, you're going to be sharing the profits, but you've already made your production of your, project, and I've already fielded the production cost. There's nothing wrong in making the product available in more places. So that to me was also another strategy that I think they probably bombed, or botched, because a lot of people don't want to buy their games out of Steam. They want their library to be in the same place. And I'm sure they could have leveraged a few more million copies sold, which would have translated to a little bit more profit before the console ecosystem eventually kind of warmed up to the game, because that was the biggest challenge. It wasn't necessarily that Division 2 bombed. I saw a lot of people saying this during the time. The console sales were just poor. The PC sales were still strong, but they wanted the console sales to be as good at launch, and that did not necessarily work out. However, with the new generation of consoles, I think the Division 3 stands a good chance of being a very heavy hitter, especially now that we're seeing that there, all kinds of market pressures that are actually pushing Bungie away, or maybe bringing Bungie into a different phase of its own development. The Division really has a strong opportunity. I honestly, I'm, happy for the team going Project Resolve. I just hope that they're actually pushing this content down the road, because, and this is my thinking, because the teams that are working on this, new update is small because they've taken a lot of the team members to the Division 3. I'm hoping they're basically channeling their resources to the Division 3, because from a business perspective, from a player perspective, from an audience perspective, they got to get that game out. And I know many people are saying that the Division 3 is not going to be coming for a while. Well, you can't be certain. Massive has ways of surprising everybody. I thought the Star Wars game was going to be way back out there, but we might get it Q1 of 2024, or maybe sometime Q4, Q3. I don't know. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about this and say, hindsight's always 2020. It's interesting to see the way things are going and things are moving. At least we're going to be getting, another Division game. Gear changes. I won't bother myself to do any of this at this moment. I have a lot of things that I'm working on, so maybe I'll pick up the game casually here and there to play. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.